So Christmas is fast approaching, and what better way to celebrate than to take some traditional Christmas carols and make them modern. This is what we'll do in the next couple of weeks in music technology. So, go to your desktop, and on there you will see a folder called Christmas Carols. Open it up, and in there are 4 Christmas carols to choose from. Jingle Bells, O Come O Ye Faithful, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and We Three Kings. Have a listen through all of them and see which one you like the most, and choose that one to work on. I'm going to choose O Come O Ye Faithful. Double click it. Click on Log In on the left-hand side. And here is the project. If you press F5, you can see the mixer. Everything is labeled, so you have bass, melody, strings, chords, choir, and strings too. If you press F6, you get to the rack, and these are all the instruments for each musical part. If you press F7, you get to the arrange window, where you can arrange your song. You can see all the different regions here. We will do some things with these later on. But for the moment, let's just have a listen to each of the different parts and see what they sound like. So, go to the beginning of your song and press play. And then go through to your rack and solo each one of these instruments to see what they sound like. Let's do it with this one. So this is the bass. Nice and low. This is the melody. These are the chords. There's a choir here. These are a second group of strings that sound a bit bigger and more orchestral. Okay, so those are our sounds. So the first step is go through your song and listen to each sound individually and note what it sounds like. Do that now, please. Okay, so now we've listened to each instrument, it's time to have a bit of fun, and we're going to change them to be more like how we want them to be. So let's go first to bass, solo it, and give it a listen. Okay, so it's a nice low sound. We can choose any instrument from the ID8 by clicking on these little buttons here, A, B, C, or D. And at the moment we are in the strings section, but maybe we want to go to a different section. We can do that by clicking up or down. So let's go to the brass wind section and press play. Okay, that's too low for a flute. Okay, let's go to synths. Maybe this synth will sound good. Okay, that's quite modern sounding. Okay, so you can choose any instrument you want from the ID8, or if you want to, if you can't find a sound that you like here, there are some more options if you go to Instruments and the Subtractor. Drag in the Subtractor on top of the ID8 to replace it. Now the Subtractor is a lot more complicated, but it has lots of bass sounds that sound very modern. And if you double click on here where it says bass guitar, and you go to browse, you can see all the different possible sounds for the Subtractor. So because this is the bass, let's look in the bass section, and see what we've got here. So drag one on here, 4 a.m. bass. Let's see what this sounds like. Okay, there are some very strange sounds in here, but try and get one that sounds good to you and sounds melodic. So let's go to the next one. Next one. And go through them until you find one that you like. Do that for every instrument, making sure that you pick an instrument that sounds roughly similar. So if this one is strings, then choose a string sound. If you need help, ask me, and replace all your instruments. Do that now, please. Okay, so I have replaced all of the instruments with subtractors and carefully selected, apart from the choir, and carefully selected something that works quite well. So let's have a listen for a few seconds at what yours could sound like. Okay, so you get the idea. Later on, we will mix it so it sounds a bit more clear. But now the next step is to add some drums. And we're going to use today the Dr. Octo-Rex loop player. As you remember, a loop is a short piece of music that plays again and again. And you're going to use drum loops to make your Christmas carol sound modern. So drag in a Dr. Octo-Rex loop player. If you can't see it, go to Instruments and drag it underneath in the rack so it creates a new track. Double click here and type drums and click enter. Okay, so here on the left in the browser, you can see all the different kinds of loops that the Dr. Octo-Rex can play. As I said, we're going to do drums. So click on the little triangle to expand the drums folder. I'm going to choose electronic drums, electro house, and there's one here that is half time, which I think will sound quite good. Half time bounce. Let's try that. You can listen through all of these by dragging them on here and then pressing play. Press solo on the drums to hear just the drums. This instrument will play a loop over and over again, and each number has a different loop in it. So let's press play and listen through to all these loops. Notice that whenever you press the new loop, it will switch to that loop at the end of the bar. So you don't have to worry about clicking exactly on the beat. You can just click anytime and it will automatically keep in time. So your next task is to bring in a Dr. Octo-Rex and find a drum sound that you like and listen to all of them. Do that now, please. Okay, so it's starting to sound a bit messy. Let's just change the levels. Let's go to F5, and the most important thing in here is the melody, so let's make sure that's nice and loud. Also, the drums should be nice and loud, and everything else should be a little bit quieter. So bring everything else down, and okay, that sounds a little bit more clear now. So your next task is to make the melody and the drums the loudest things and everything else a little bit quieter. Do that now, please.